you know, assimilation is a very big problem for them, as it is for any ethnic group. I mean, you know, who knows who's Irish anymore? Who knows who's Italian? And do people want to preserve that sort of thing? And okay, the Hispanics are more pronounced at the moment because there are a lot of people from Hispanic background, and the assimilation process hasn't completely progressed. And the same with Vietnamese, and same with other ethnic groups. Probably even people from Middle Eastern background and so on. Depending on how many generations they've been here, how far they assimilate. Japanese is a really good example because old Japanese, different generations, I think they were called, was it Shinsai, Nisai, these sort of names that they had for the different generations of Japanese people here. I mean, by the time the third generation, they were totally Americanized in many ways, which is what was so bad about the experience in World War II. New Japanese people coming in, all the new restaurants and other kinds of enterprises that are opening up, a huge wave of new Japanese young people have entered this country, whether they're here permanently or just temporarily. So that's another assimilation problem. They're not at all like the Japanese generations that have been here for 2 or 3 generations. And I don't even think their reason for being, they are probably still in a state of flux. They still question who and what they are, whether they want to be here, whether they're going home to Japan, whether they're just making money in order to buy a house in Japan, or what it is that they're doing here. But I don't think that the old Japanese population, particularly this area of the country, had a very good number. Where I live in Fountain Valley is a Japanese community. That's really what it is. It was a Japanese farming community, and I think I told you all of the schools are named after Japanese war heroes there, and most of the good land was owned by Japanese, and some of them are still very, very prosperous as a result of some of the land holdings that went on there. Some families like Sakioki, I think, and some other different families own large chunks of property down there. So Fountain Valley was actually a fountain. It was actually, there were springs underneath the ground there. That's why it was called Fountain Valley. It wasn't some real estate agent's come-on dream or something like that. Anyway, the point for the Jews is, in America, is how many are going to keep on, how many are going to join the melting pot, not just culturally, but in every other way. And, you know, of course the key comes down to the holidays. It's really odd that the key is the holidays. I mean, and of course, the biggie of all biggies is Christmas. Nobody has a problem with Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is a wonderful national festival of the American people, and everyone can join in. And a lot of people don't realize that we have Abraham Lincoln to thank for that holiday. He's the one who proclaimed it. It wasn't the Pilgrims. He proclaimed it after, I think it was after the victory at Gettysburg. He thought there should be a Thanksgiving for all the casualties and all the grace that God gave this country to survive. And I think that, well, I was telling someone the other day that for me, Lincoln is like, I mean, okay, he's got defects and weaknesses like everybody had, but he's a very depressed individual in many ways, but he's so large in the history of this country, and his personality is so large, his persona, because he had no petty small aspects to his person. I told these people the other day, I'm telling a Lincoln story that I like to do these things because I think it's important to get into other parts of culture. Tolstoy writes about Lincoln, and apparently, Tolstoy was in the Russian army for quite a while, and he writes some books about his experiences out in Central Asia and the steppes of Central Asia, and he, was with the Cossacks down in the Caucasus place, and he apparently, he was down with some, tribesmen in those areas, and they were asking him, tell us stories about the great men, tell us stories about the great men. So, that people, oral traditions like stories, and apparently he he writes this. He says, okay, I told them about Jesus Christ, trying to think who the great man, I told them about Julius Caesar, told them about Napoleon, and I said, no, you've missed the great liberator. We want to hear about Abraham Lincoln. And he was like, why? He was totally amazed, that this would come in the steppes of Central Asia. But when you think of it, I mean, I do historical Jesus. I want to close this a bit because it's going to get a bit chilly on you guys, if you don't mind. At least you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
Yeah, it's going to get chilly on yours truly. I teach the historical Jesus and things like that, and there's a lot of issues in terms of how historical we can deal. Not so much maybe that the person involved, but the material that is presenting itself as giving a picture of what he may or may not have been like. The historicity of that kind of thing, how retrospective, how real it is really a very huge problem, and it has been for some 200 years. And my new book has some effect on that issue. But forgetting that, so that's a quasi-historical, almost supernatural figure. I mean, that's a man god. He's presented as a man god, a supernatural being. He can do marvelous things, like come back from the dead and walk on waters. And so there's a lot of supernatural aspects to that presentation. So if you set that figure aside, who really is the most famous human being in history? Abraham Lincoln is way up there. Someone said, oh, Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah, maybe, but only recently. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Martin Luther King we think a lot about in America because of recent issues in America, but I think over the long haul, Abraham Lincoln is quite likely to stay up there, very high up. Not that it's a race or anything, but that's a titanic human being figure. So Thanksgiving, I think none of us have a problem with that. We all love that holiday, and we love the spirit behind it. One wants to give Thanksgiving for the goodness that we receive here, whatever our problems are, or whatever we feel our shortcomings of the society is, and so on, and whatever short end of the stick we've received. We know that somewhere else. I mean, I've just heard a description of the streets of Baghdad. I mean, the killing going on there is just like endemic. One group killing another, trying to get them out of neighborhoods. There's not a street safe. There's not anybody. No army could any longer keep it safe. It's just deteriorated into a state of nature. And that's not all America's fault. That's also the attitude of the people toward each other and how they, the guy was saying, a New York Times correspondent, he just left there after 3 years. He said, I've been to the morgues, and they not just kill each other. They drill holes in each other, they pour acid on each other. It's so gruesome. You think they're just killing neighbors. No, they want to make them suffer. For some reason I have a fascination with drills. All the bodies have drill holes in them, he said, and this kind. So this goes beyond anything, American as such. We may have triggered it, but the point is that there are things here in this country to be grateful and appreciative. So we have that spirit. So Christmas is the biggie as far as assimilation goes. Either you're going to participate or you're not. And for Jews, I think that is the big barrier. Big barrier. I don't think Buddhists feel it so strongly. Christmas is something even Japanese people in Japan enjoy celebrating because they like holidays. And they like shopping occasions and things like that. So I've heard that even Tokyo is decorated, the department stores, for Christmas and things like that. And it's something that they